Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Eric Bemanis. I am the Program Manager for Private Sector Innovation here at Canary. We are recording this webinar and it will be available on YouTube shortly after the webinar concludes. The PowerPoint slides to today's webinar were sent out ahead of time, so if you have them in your email, please feel free to follow along. If you'd like to ask a question during the presentation, please use the QA panel option here in Zoom at the bottom. We have a couple spots in the presentation where we will address questions, so feel free to write questions in the QA panel at any time, and we'll get to them during those periods. Now I'd like to pass it over to Annie to do our introduction in French. Annie?
Merci Eric. Bonjour à tous, mon nom est Annie Gélican. Je suis coordonnatrice à l'exploitation des programmes chez Canary. Juste avant de commencer, c'est simplement pour vous aviser que la présentation d'aujourd'hui est enregistrée et va être disponible un peu plus tard sur YouTube. Vous devriez également avoir reçu une copie de la présentation par courriel. Donc, vous êtes les bienvenus de suivre avec votre propre copie. Il va y avoir des moments tout au cours de la présentation pour des questions. Donc, si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à les inscrire dans le petit icône Q&A au bas de votre écran. On va y répondre au cours de la présentation. Alors, je repasse la parole à Eric.
Thank you very much, Annie. So starting with today, I'll quickly go through the agenda. So we've already done our welcome. We're going to have a quick section of updates for the DAIR program before we get into the meat of today's presentation, which is the new BoosterPack, which is automate data pipelines. So for updates with the DAIR program, we now have 3 BoosterPacks available in the catalog, including the newest one, Data Pipeline Automation by Intelius AI, which is available today in the BoosterPack catalog. So feel free to check it out and follow along during the BoosterPack webinar today. We also do have another BoosterPack coming up, cloud-based platform for geospatial intelligence with machine learning by Ecosystems Informatics, Inc., which should be coming in the next coming months. If you haven't checked out the BoosterPack catalog in a while, there are 2 other new BoosterPacks that have been added recently. One of them is automated static and dynamic application security testing from Parabellix. Very important, cool to check out. And the other BoosterPack is build private blockchain networks on Hyperledger Fabric by Sanofi Inc. So feel free to check out all 3 of those new BoosterPacks in the BoosterPack catalog today. And now I'd like to pass it over to Tom Vitez for a quick update on DAIR migration and Morpheus. Tom?
Thanks very much, Eric. Welcome, everybody. I won't take too much of your time today. I just wanted to thank everybody for their contributions and assistance in our tenant migration to the AWS subtenant model. That was completed in June. So well done, everybody, and onwards and upwards from that exercise. If you're having any problems or issues, I don't think we have, but by all means, if you haven't used your environment in a while and you discover something that isn't quite right, by all means, reach out to us on Slack or DAIR admin at canary.ca email to get support and help with that. We are currently in the process of doing some final QA testing on a new version of Morpheus, the cloud broker tool that exposes AWS, Azure, and our GPUs in our hybrid cloud environment to you. We'll be talking more about some of the new features coming down the pipe with this new version. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully we'll have some news real soon on the date when this upgrade will be happening to the UI with some new features. That's it. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you so much for that, Tom. Now I'd like to move on to the main presentation for today. So please welcome to the virtual stage, Ariana, Raza, and Eric from Intelius AI as they'll be showcasing their Automate Data Pipelines BoosterPack. Feel free to take it away.
Thank you. Raza, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen for that presentation. All right, I think we're ready then. So thank you all for joining us. We're super excited to share our Automated Data Pipeline BoosterPack with you all. As a reminder, the session is being recorded and can be rewatched or reconvened at a later date on the Canary YouTube channel. We will leave ample time to answer your queries at the end of the session. I know Eric has stated that you can just ask questions away, and that's fine, but we will be collecting them until the very end. So on our agenda today, I'll briefly give an introduction on Intelius AI and the team, and then Eric will introduce our automated data pipeline BoosterPack, followed by a tutorial and demo from Reza. So here at Intelius, we are a management consulting and AI product development firm, and we have a diverse breadth of machine learning, AI, data analytics, and operational research experience. Based in Calgary, we've been in business since 2018. We provide our customers with advice on leveraging advanced analytics and custom AI product development services to augment operations in varying industries and to augment their existing infrastructure. We also work as trusted advisors, and we reduce the risk associated with AI solutions developments. As shown on the next slide, Reza, we take a design thinking approach that provides a solution-based approach to solving problems for our clients. From this framework, in the last 2 years, Intelius has developed an in-house AI platform that acts as an accelerator for product development in different industries. And from this framework, we've actually built a flagship product that we'll be releasing at the beginning of 2023. The product is called Adatra. Adatra is an advanced AI commission-free trading platform that equips stock and cryptocurrency market participants to trade and invest with robust AI and algorithmic insights, advanced order types, and real-time data. It's really powered by our vision to democratize finance and to make trading simple and smart with AI and automation. If you'd like to know more about our platform, please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn, either at Intelius AI or at Adatra for any future updates and releases. And on our BoosterPack team, we have Wayne, our president and partner, who has made this project a possibility. And then we have Reza, who is our project lead and has led the development work of the BoosterPack. Then we have Eric, who has recently joined Intelius and will be continuing to support the project going forward. And I operate as a business and product strategist here at Intelius. This project was also made possible with the help of our lead data scientist, Fatima Farnia, our lead full stack developer, Patrick Machette, and Natasha De Silva, another one of our full stack developers, as well as the entire Canary team. So I'm going to hand it over to Eric, and Eric is going to walk us through some items before the tutorial. So over to you, Eric.
Thanks, Ariana. Now, our modern world of big data is full of promise and opportunities for organizations, but the volume and variety of data generated from a multitude of sources presents us with a challenge. How can businesses capture this data and analyze it in real time so that they can unlock the insights that they need to create value? Most enterprise data management problems can actually be handled using a generalized 3 or 4 tier architecture. However, finding an existing microservices framework that can simply be downloaded and used is difficult. Traditionally, an organization must hire data or enterprise architects to design and develop such an architecture, and then need to have a development team ready to build the component microservices. With this approach, the baseline framework itself would take several months to build, and organizations would have to spend thousands of dollars on hiring resources to start development from the ground up. We believe organizations can benefit from using our solution as a baseline rather than building a framework from scratch. While this sample solution automates the specific use case of ingesting, processing, storing, and presenting stock market and news data, it presents a generalized approach suitable for most enterprise problems. For most data management projects, the automated data pipelines will follow the same design pattern. This BoosterPack will help organizations hit the ground running by implementing the sample solution as a foundation and then customizing it according to their business use case. There are many potential use cases for the sample solution. They include Internet of Things analytics in many different industries where we want to go all the way from sensor data to insights. The BoosterPack lays the foundation for both edge computing and back office processing. Another application is real-time robotics with data generated out in the world, integrated with back office processing for analytics. Use cases like fraud detection, real-time recommendations, voice-driven analytics, think of a personal assistant like Siri or Alexa, these can all be implemented with our architecture as well. Really, any business problem that requires the implementation of real-time or near real-time analytics to data, whether the data is in motion or at rest, will benefit from this cloud-agnostic architecture. So what is in this booster pack? Well, this sample solution demonstrates how we at Intelius AI use tools and technologies such as Kubernetes, Apache Airflow, MySQL, FastAPI, Apache Kafka, and React.js to solve the problem of developing an integrated framework for creating automated data pipelines using open source libraries. This sample solution remedies the lack of availability of an end-to-end generalized automated data pipeline framework that is low cost, scalable, and can be customized for various business needs. So the tools and technologies used in this solution include Kubernetes, Apache Airflow, Apache Kafka, FastAPI, and MySQL. And these are all introduced in the BoosterPacks flight plan on the Canary website. As you can see from this diagram, we've used a specific instantiation of the framework for market data in our sample solution. However, you're going to be able to take our sample and modify it to ingest data from whatever source you desire, change the processing functions to whatever you need, and modify the web front end to look like your desired data presentation solution. But by using our framework, you can begin working with a running pipeline rather than having to design and build your architecture from scratch. We can see from this diagram that the automated data pipeline consists of a series of independent microservices. The ingestion service is an independent deployable service developed in Python that enables the ingestion of data from external services. The sample solution contains two ingestion pipelines on a deployed Airflow instance, one for market data and one for news. The ingestion service delivers the ingested market data to the Kafka event streaming service, while the news data is written to the MySQL database. The processing service is also an independent deployable service developed in Python, which enables the processing of data that was previously ingested. The sample solution contains two processing pipelines on that same Airflow instance. In the first processing pipeline, the ingested market data that has been sent using Kafka events is aggregated and a simple technical indicator is computed on the data, while the results are saved to the MySQL database. In the second processing pipeline, ingested news data saved in the MySQL database is read and has sentiment prediction applied to it, which is provided by the analytics service. These are very simple examples of data processing, and users of the BoosterPack will be able to add their desired functionality, such as data cleaning, data wrangling, and integration with other sources. The analytics service that is used during processing is also an independent service deployed in Python, which can be adapted by users to deploy analytical models of varying complexity depending on the business use case. Our sample solution uses a pre-trained news sentiment prediction model to predict whether each of the ingested news articles will have positive, neutral, or negative impact on the related stock. The sentiment is defined based on a numeric score that is predicted by a natural language processing model. This prediction functionality is exposed as an API using the FastAPI tool and is being called by the news data processing pipeline. The data services solution that the other services have been interacting with uses MySQL as the open source data storage tool. By default, a database called Automated Data Pipelines, preloaded with 3 tables, gets created during the installation of our solution. The solution also uses the open source event streaming platform Apache Kafka for hot path storage. So this is typically used for real-time data streaming and data with low latency requirements. The solution also uses KafDrop, an open source web user interface for viewing the Kafka topics. So you can see the events which have been logged and which services are producing and or consuming from the events. The middle tier service allows for the retrieval of the processed data using APIs. The service represents an intermediary layer between the presentation and the data services. In this solution, 2 APIs are created for accessing processed market and news data, again using FastAPI. While these APIs are meant to be called by the front-end service, they can also be accessed using Swagger user interface or the Redoc interface. Finally, the front-end service provides an interface that enables users to access the outputs of the system. The application in this layer could be a dashboard, a web page, a mobile app, or any other front-end tool. In this case, the web page is developed using React.js technology. So now that we've taken a high-level look at what is in the solution and what it does, I'll now hand off to Reza for a walkthrough and demo of the BoosterPack.
Cool. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar. So my name is Reza, and I was the project lead for this project. And thank you, Arina and Eric, for the introduction by picturing the high-level view of the BoosterPack and what advantages or business cases it can have. I'm going into the details by walking you through the documentation, the installation steps, and then the sample solution user interfaces. And in the end, try to have a quick view of our GitHub repository. So I just minimize this presentation and try to go to Canary website. And then by navigating to this address, as you're probably familiar with, you can see the BoosterPack. So as Eric was mentioning in the beginning of this webinar, there are new BoosterPacks being added here, and the ones that we are focusing on, the automated data pipelines, it's being added here. So you can find it here. And then by clicking in this flight plan, we can go to our first documentation that basically provides an overview and then some links to the available resources you can go through to learn more about this BoosterPack and then the technology and tools it's using. So I'm going to this flight plan and try to have a quick overview. So this document starts with an introduction about the BoosterPack and the application we have developed and published as the solution for this BoosterPack. As you have already been introduced to the BoosterPacks, so I skip this section, this overview section. And then the next is the best practices. So as a reminder, before we go into the details, one of the main points you should have in mind is that the main purpose of this sample solution and this BoosterPack is to demonstrate how the tools in this BoosterPack can be integrated and then be used. And by no means it's ready to be used in production environment. So here in this best practices section, also in other parts of the documentation, we have tried to point to or refer you to some of the best practices to use this application more reliably, securely, and efficiently based on your business case. But of course, by no means they meant to be comprehensive. So here in this section, you see some recommendation to use the Ssl encryption for the communication or using more secure passwords. We'll, of course, we try to use the default password for the simplicity and also, of course, expose them in these documentation. So first thing, if you want to use it also on the cloud, you may want to change these passwords. And then also some recommendation to have a backup strategy. Then after that, we have the tips and traps section, which basically just in general, it provides some tips, basically to remind you that this solution can be customized according to your business need. But later on, as we go into the sample solution, there will be more details, especially technical details, how you need to do so. So here you just can find some general tips about doing so. Next, we get to this resources section. So let me jump to this one, and then where we have provided the first, we provide links to some tutorials for learning more about the main tools we have used in this BoosterPack. So if you're already not familiar with any of them, you can go through these tutorials. Of course, there are plenty of online resources and then courses to learn about these popular tools, but here you mostly can find the official tutorials, which you can quickly bring you on board. And next, we have the documentation, where you can find the list of links to the official documentations of the tools we have used in this BoosterPack. So you may use this documentation as references for using or customizing these tools. We sometimes also try to also specify what concepts or part of these documentation you may need to focus on. So as you can see these comments under some summary column. For example, here we have the link to the official Airflow documentation and also the documentation for the Helm chart, the official Helm chart. That is the Helm chart we use to install Airflow. So if you want to just adapt it to your needs, configure it in a way that you you wanted to, you can go to like parameters references here and then make the try to customize it for yourself. Similarly, we have the documentation to Apache Kafka, and also again documentation to the Helm chart. We use the reputable Bitnami Helm chart for the installation of Apache Kafka. And I should also maybe last but not definitely the least is the links to the documentation of the BigBit Bus Kubernetes automation toolkit, which is another BoosterPack, awesome BoosterPack that we use to install one node Kubernetes cluster as a container orchestration platform. And of course, the Kubernetes official documentation itself. As you have developed our application based on this KAT, BigBit KAT BoosterPack, and you will need to use Kubernetes commands. Even to manage and run this application, you will most likely and probably even quite frequently need to refer to these documentation. Then we get to this support section. There will be several channels for supporting this application, as mentioned here in this documentation. First of all, we have published the source code of this BoosterPack as an open source project on GitHub. And you can use the issue section, as I will show you later in this webinar, in our GitHub repository to get the support you need. But also, just like other BoosterPack, you can also use the DAIR Slack channel if you're already on Slack, or you can send an email to DAIR admin for the support. And then in the end, you get here, you see the link to the documentation for our sample solution. I'm just thinking probably just not, I'm going to stop my video because I'm not sure if it's taking up the internet traffic. So just to make sure that you hear me quite well, I'm stopping my video. All the traffic goes to the voice itself. So this is the documentation for the sample solution. Scroll up to the beginning. So in this document, it starts with the problem statement, the solution is trying to address, and then the potential use cases of this sample solution as described earlier in this webinar by my colleague Eric. So I'll also skip this one where I get to the overview diagram, which really gives you the high-level view of the main tools and flow of the data and the solution. To also skip this section, as Eric has covered the main points, although there are more details in this table here, then you can go check out later. And then try to quickly jump to how you need to deploy and then configure this. So before we get into this, there's some prerequisite steps before you into your Canary account and then start installing the application. So just as I was saying, this whole application ADP application is getting installed and deployed on a Kubernetes cluster based on this KAT BoosterPack. So we provide the link here so we can go to the documentation, and anything you see about the platform applies to us as well. Just the important point is that you don't need to install it first, the KAT BoosterPack, I mean. We have the installation on our BoosterPack. So just as you install our application, initially this one get installed, and then our application, our tools get deployed on the Kubernetes cluster by this BoosterPack. So first of all, you need to have your SSH set up. You need to have your Linux username and password for the VMs that we are going to provision and create. But there's also one step that you need to do before installing this. And so as Eric was explaining, we have two data sources. We get and two types of data. So we get the market price data from finhub.io website, and then use data from Polygon.io website. So they provide free subscription. With the free subscription, they provide some data course, it has some limitations. It's going to be enough for this sample solution. But of course, if you want more, or if you want to upgrade, you can go to their website, upgrade your subscription, and then for example, use more stocks in your solution. Just I can go to the website to show you where you can. So if you go to their homepage, this is the FinHub. You can see the register here. So not much information is needed. You can quickly register, and then you get username and password, which I later show where after logging in, you can get your API keys, which later you need to enter in the during the installation steps. Similarly, here we have the Polygon.io website. And then here again, you have the sign up page where you can create your own free subscription. Of course, you can also go to the other sections or other parts of this website. For example, you can go to the documentation to see what are the format for the input to call the APIs, and what is the format of the data being returned by these API calls. Or just like you can go to this pricing section to see how much you need to pay if you want to upgrade your subscription. So after you create the subscription and logging into your account, like here in the FinHub website, this is where you can get your API keys from the dashboard. And then similarly for the Polygon.io, after logging in, you go to the API key section, and this is where you can get your API keys. So we take note of these API keys, which later you need to enter them during the installation. Okay, after you've done all this, you'll be ready to install the app. So I go into like my Canary account. You can go. There's just notice there's also a new way as the Canary team we're giving you the updates. There's also a new way to install the app as well. So I go with this one. So you can go to the provisioning apps, and then by clicking on this add button, you will see the list of applications you can install on your Canary Cloud. And here you can see the Intelius AI app. So I'm going to start by just entering a name for this app. And the rest, it's like your default cloud, if you already set that up, like other kind of information and parameters you need to enter to create an instance on your DAIR Cloud. So this BoosterPack is based on Ubuntu. So I select Ubuntu here, and then here I need to enter more information. I will give it another name, like that would be the name of the VM or the instance, the description if you need to. And this will be based on the Ubuntu version 20. So this is locked. The main thing you have to pay attention is the plan. So we've tested with instances smaller than this one. We've seen that with anything below this, you may see over usage. So everything may get slow. So we recommend at least using creating an instance with 4 cores and 16 gigabytes of memory. Of course, if you need to have more stocks, you need to also increase that. But for me, it's giving me this error because I already have an instance created, so I don't have enough budget to create a new one. And actually, I'm not going to create one now because it takes about 20 minutes to provision and deploy all the apps. So like the other instances, you can specify the VPC, your subnet, your security group. This is, I think, going to be typical to other instances. What might be different than standard steps is you need to go to this advanced options. Here we have and you need to enter the API keys for the Polygon.io and the FinHub.io website. So the API keys I was showing you here, you need to enter them here. So this will during the provision of the VM, this will be created on the instance, and then once we deploy the app, you will see that they will be saved as Airflow variables where it can be picked up by the application and be used during the API calls. And then As I said, I can't continue anymore, but the next is just going to be a review of the configuration you've already entered, and then you can continue to provisioning the VM. And after about 20 minutes, you will have an instance like the one I've created before. The main things here are going to be like this address. If you already had an instance, so this is going to be the IP address for your instance. You will need it to access the user interfaces in this application. And also you can check out the history. So during the installation, we try to also print the logs here. So you can see the logs. Initially, the first task is to install the Kubernetes cluster based on the Big plus KET BoosterPack, as I mentioned. So the logs are here. Then it's the logs for installing our apps, like the Airflow, Kafka. So you see the logs of all of them here as well. The important thing is it's going to be the last step where we try to print the config file. And what important here is in the end, the token. So you will need this token each time you want to access the Kubernetes dashboard, which we'll see shortly. Okay, so this is about the installation. So now this is the time to do some technology demonstration. So now I'm going to show you the user interfaces and in this app. And so starting with the Kubernetes dashboard. So this is the same version of the dashboard also being installed in the KET BoosterPack. So we try to be consistent, didn't change anything. So any more information you can find it on their documentation, on the README files in the GitHub repository as well. The first thing you need to do is you need to do SSH to your VM and do tunneling. To do so, of course, you can on Windows. On Windows, you can use the command prompt, PowerShell, or PuTTY. I have PowerShell here, and then, as I said, you need to do SSH and also do tunneling from port 8080 to localhost 80. So SSH command, this is my Linux user and this is the host IP you got from the, as I was mentioning in this instance information. This is the address. So I set up my private key. So after this, I need to enter my password. So after logging in or doing SSH to your VM, then and doing the tunneling, so you can go to this address. The address also is provided here. And then you will see this login page to the Kubernetes dashboard. And this is so you have to enter your token. And the token I mentioned here, you have to save it from the history of the logs here. After signing in, you see in the initial page, you see all the Kubernetes objects in all the namespaces here. A quick overview of the objects here. But basically, to see the details, you have to select the right namespace. So initially, we have the default Kubernetes namespaces. Then it's going to be the namespaces we created ourselves for the purpose of this ADP app. So for example, in the data namespace, we have Kafka and anything about the data. So we have Kafka, Kafka, and then MySQL installed here. So you see the pod deployments, and then they're installed as stateful sets. Here we have the news sentiment. It's a very powerful dashboard, so you can do a lot of things you can do on Kubernetes. Some advanced tools you need to do it and then command prompt, but basically most of the thing that you regularly need is accessible through this dashboard. For example, something that you can do here is to scale up. just it's going to be as easy as, for example, if you want to just imagine you have a lot of API calls to this new sentiment model. Just if you see that you need to scale it up, you can come here and then increase the number of replicas here. Just initialize multiple pods here where it can take care of the API requests to this model. And then similarly, all the other like Airflow, middle tier, and front end, all they own namespaces. The next UI I'm going to show you is one of the main ones, because Airflow actually, as you've already seen, is really the heart of this application. So I will walk you through the user interface for Airflow. The first thing is to get the address for that. So we've exposed the web server of the Airflow as a node port. And in order to be able to access it, so as it's explained here, you first need to have your external host IP, which is the location as you could see in the instance location. And you have to get the node port for this. The node port, you have to, as explained here, you have to go to Kubernetes Dashboard again. Go to the Airflow namespace, select services. As I was saying, so this web service is exposed as a web server is exposed as a node port. And this is the node port you have to use. So the address is going to be the host IP colon this port. And this is what I have used here. This port. The way by clicking on that address, you will be going to a page where you need to enter your username and password. The default username and password here is admin. And after logging in, you see the pipeline, or in terms of Airflow terminology, these are the 4 DAGs Eric was talking about. So 2 ingestion pipeline for market data and news, and also 2 processing pipelines for market data again and news. You see the status of these pipelines. So like right now there are 2 running tasks. You can see the recent task, and here you can manage them. So if you want to pause them, if you want to delete them, or a bunch of other things you can do here. One other thing you can do, of course, you can go to each of these pipelines. You see the history of these task runs. And one thing, for example, you could do, you can go on this one if you want to mark it as success. Do, for example, finish or stop the task, or you can see or check the logs here. One other thing you can do, of course, you can explore yourself. There are a lot of functionalities here. One interesting thing also, all the functionalities also in the recent version also exposes as APIs as well. One thing also wanted to show you is, as I mentioned, the FaneHub and Polygon API here is saved as Airflow variables, and here where you can access them. And if you change them, you have a new API key. The only thing you need to do is you can come here and change the API key here. And then as soon as you save, then in the application, it reads from here. So you don't need to redeploy the application if you have a new API key. Okay, so this is about the Airflow UI. Next, this is going to be calf drop. I can skip this one because this is fairly simple. It's going to be a tool to see the messages or the topics you created on Kafka. And I go to MySQL as our data store to access this one, because especially also for security reason and some limitation, we've exposed this one as cluster IP service, unlike the other one, which are node port. So to access this, like the way that you were doing for Kubernetes Dashboard, you need to do tunneling, and tunnel this time. The default port for MySQL is you're familiar with, is 3306. So this time we do tunneling for this port. If I go back here, try to exit, and then do tunneling this one. This time again, I did a search. This time now you forward the traffic from your local host, everything in this port to your local, to your VM on this port. But you have to do one other thing. You have to now route the traffic into the pod itself, because as I said, it's exposed as cluster IP. So you need to do port forwarding for this one. And this is going to be the command for port forwarding. This is the name of service for MySQL. And data is, as I mentioned, the name of the namespace where this MySQL is installed on. So once you do this, now it's doing the port forwarding, and that's when you can access your MySQL. So you can imagine how secure it can be. You need to have, the username and password for the MySQL, but you can't access it from externally. You need to do all this step, logging, view SSH, and then also do the port forwarding. To access it, like MySQL, if you're familiar with, or other DBMS, or just I use Workbench, because it's from the official website as well. Then you can create a connection. As I have it here, nothing special. So you can use your local host root and then password. You can enter it here, and then see the structure and the data inside your preferred DBMS tool. So here we provided the default root password, and also this is the service account we use in our application. So already 2 users have been created, and they're all been populated with the tables and some data you need for running the application. Next, we're gonna have the analytics and middle tier services. So nothing special for this one, just to let you know, as Eric mentioned, the redoc and Swagger's interfaces are available just in case you want to try it out. For example, this is the address where you can access the middle tier services, and these are the APIs. You can try them out to get what kind of data is being returned by these APIs. But this is generally being called, as mentioned, by the web UI. And this is our web UI. So to get this to this address is the host IP, and this is the port where we have exposed this service now. And so this is the final UI. Like right now, this is for today. And this is the stock. You can change them, and it shows the candlestick chart here. Of course, you can change the date, the stock. All this data is saved in MySQL. So this is during the market hour from 9:30 up to 4 p.m. And if you scroll down, you will see the news, the influence score from the news sentiment model, whether it's positive or negative or neutral. Just if you're interested, you can click on it, and it gets you to the details of the news and the news provider website. So these are all the UIs you have access to. The details you can check the documentation. I can now walk you through the rest of the sections in this one. So the rest is, for example, we have some comments about if you want to deploy it. There are alternate deployment options, especially as we were saying. If you read more resources, you can install this application on a multi-node cluster. At the same time, if you think you don't need using Kubernetes, it adds, of course, complexity and overhead. If you don't need that, you may also just by making some changes, install it the same way as Microservices architecture on a Docker store. We have some comments here if you want to do so. The technologies we have used in this application, which first of all, we want it to be open source as one of the main goals of this application. But at the same time, we try to choose the best one and the ones that can be well integrated. But we have also provided some alternatives here, again, among the open source options and also the proprietary options if you want to pay for them and get the support that you need. In this section, we have some additional comments if you want to customize it to your own business needs. Like here, the comments about upgrading your subscription with these 2 websites. If you want to have your own pipeline, customize it. there's some information here, but the detail is going to be on our GitHub README files, where it can explain you after customizing how you need to create again your image push and then do the deployment on this platform yourself. The schemas in MySQL, the APIs if you want to make changes. So all the comments about customizing it is going to be here. And some additional comments about the security, as I was mentioning in the flight plan documentation. So by itself, the architecture itself it's a secure one, but also you have to take some additional steps to make sure that it suits your needs as well. So we have some comments here. As I mentioned, they're not supposed to essentially be compressive. The scaling, for example, I show you how is it going to be to scale or increase the number of pods if you need to. Similarly, if, for example, for your MySQL, if you can set up a MySQL cluster, or if you need to, you can add additional brokers to your Kafka if you have more requirements. In terms of availability, also, there are just some recommendation and tutorials or references to the official document so that you can make it more available, for example, by increasing the number of pods, or just like in terms of Airflow, you can have additional schedulers just in case one of them fails. There's going to be another one that you can use. In terms of costs, so there's no cost, at least in terms of deploying this application, of course, other than the cost of the creating the VM. All the tools open source, and as I said, free subscription from these ones. But of course, if you want to customize it, upgrade it, there's going to be additional cost. And then the licenses, Apache 2 for our tools, and also we also publish it with this license. And then here are repo or GitHub repo where it contains the source code. So all the services in their own folders. You down. I mean, if you go into each of them, you will find the like configuration for values file for the deployment of the system, or you will find the Docker files here. In case of Airflow, initially you see the definition for the pipelines, and then inside the source folder you will see the code for running each pipeline. So each service we have it in a folder, and then we have the installation script here in this repo. And then, as I mentioned in the support section, if you have questions or you find any issues, you can raise it here and try to support as soon as we can. Yes, and so this is it. Please feel free, if you like it, also start this repo. Also recommend to your colleagues if they think it might be a good fit for their needs. Thank you, Eric. That's it for me. Back to you.
Just confirming that it's back to me, or were you going back to Eric Austin? As there are two Erics here.
No, I mean Eric from Canary. I think we are now ready to take questions and answer.
Fantastic. All right, anybody who has a question, please feel free to use the QA tab down at the bottom, or even the chat tab as well. I did have one question that did come in. So how long ago did you start working with Kubernetes? And can you comment on how Kubernetes and microservices has impacted your ADP solution architecture? For example, some benefits. And did you discover any downsides to embracing Kubernetes?
Yeah, awesome question. So that's a good point. To be honest, we initially started, as I was saying, as the alternate deployment options. We all started with Docker Swarm. So everything was on Docker, of course, and we were using Docker Swarm on our side as well. But we came to the point that we wanted to get closer to the production, and we see that with that option, it's not quite easy to scale up. And also to make sure it's going to be available, we needed to take this additional step to be able to deploy it on Kubernetes. If you remember yourself, Eric, or the folks on the Canary, the initial proposal was not on the Kubernetes, but once we discovered all the benefits it can have for our application, we decided to take that additional step and try to finally publish our work on the Kubernetes. So in terms of the advantages it can have, you see how easy it is to scale up just by going on the Kubernetes dashboard and increase the number of replicas. In terms of availability, we can have multiple nodes. Just in case one of them fails, the other one going to pick it up, or just if for any reason, if any of the pods get terminated, the Kubernetes tries to reinitialize it again. I believe that there are many advantages to Kubernetes. The security itself, like for example, the case I was talking about, the MySQL, so it's not going to be accessible externally. These are the, I think, few advantages that quickly comes to my mind.
Perfect. Thank you there for that. If anyone has any other questions for Reza or the Intelius team, please do use the QA panel or the chat function. In the meantime, I am going to go and share the rest of my presentation here as we move towards the wrap up. So thank you again to the Intelius team for their presentation on their BoosterPack. Again, if you have any questions, please use the QA panel and the chat function. Right now, we still have some BoosterPack builder slots open. So if you are a Canadian business operating here and have expertise in an emerging technology, which we do have listed on our website, the technologies that we are seeking, please feel free to check out how to become a BoosterPack builder and submit an EOI. Becoming a BoosterPack builder comes with a list of perks. Not only will you have new connections to potential partners and resources, exposure and recognition for your work on the BoosterPack, but you'll also will receive $50,000 Canadian for building a BoosterPack. So if you are interested in becoming a BoosterPack builder and build a BoosterPack that will be featured in our catalog, like the many that you've seen already, please do go to our website and submit an EOI. So canary.ca/cloud, and then browse towards the BoosterPack catalog and the BoosterPack builder page. Again, are there any more questions here for Intelius and just about the BoosterPack in general? Feel free to throw any in the Q&A panel or the chat. I'm not seeing any other questions come in at the moment, so I will look to wrap this up here. Thank you very, very much to the Intelius team, so Ariana, Raza, and Eric for their presentation. This is fantastic. We're very excited about the BoosterPack that we do have on the catalog, so please do feel free to go and check that out. And we hope you all have a great day. Thank you for coming to the webinar, and we hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.